Hello, dear learner. I welcome you back in part two. So, in the part two of this session, just to first give you the overview, we'll be examining into the historical evolution and the religious significance of traditional clothing. This will also highlight the cultural diversity and symbolism which is embedded in our Indian ethnic attire. And lastly, we'll also explore the craftsmanship and the textile skills that sustain India's rich clothing heritage. Okay, so let's begin. Now, coming to the costumes, the religious costume of India. Now, we have to understand that just like we just saw in the earlier lectures, that how the whole traditions, we had such rich diversity of traditions and cultures. So, similarly, our country also really reflects diversity in religions also. It's a reflection of our culture, it's a reflection of our spirituality, of our social hierarchy, and even our personal identity, right? So, cloth is holding a special place as it is deeply intertwined with faith, with rituals, and symbolism. So, in India, of course, multiple religions are there from Hinduism to Islam, Sikhism, Jainism, Buddhism, and Christianity, just to name a few. But these are the predominant religions which exhibit extraordinary diversity in religious attire, right? And then each tradition also has some distinct clothing style and which is carrying a symbolic meaning. It is carrying some ethical values and some spiritual significance as well. So basically, we find that our religious clothing it has multi-purpose. It is also signifying devotion. It is signifying on the other one hand, and it is also signifying our religious identity, and it is also a marker of our social role as well, right? So over centuries, these garments have evolved under the influence of climate, whatever the resources that were available, the regional culture, the trade, the invasions, and the philosophical ideas. And of course, some of the clothes have also been, fused. There is a fusion of the culture also that has taken place. So first coming to Hinduism, which is one of the world's oldest living religion, which originated in the Indian subcontinent more than 4,000 years ago. So if you look at the clothing, it holds a very deep religious, cultural, and symbolic importance there. In Hindu philosophy, how a person dresses also is seen as the reflection of their inner self, antar-atma, and their relationship with dharma, that is the righteous living, right? So in the image now you can see the whole cultural evolution in the post-Vedic period. So how did the evolution of the Hindu religious dress it took place in through ages? If we try to uncover that, so the garments that were worn by Hindus during the ritual festivals and the daily worship were rich in meaning and symbolism. So the ancient Hindu attire was basically the value depicted was a very value of simplicity and value of symbolism, right? So in the Vedic period, the simplicity was the key, and men they wore dhoti, while women they adorned themselves in saris wrapped in various regional styles, right? Then the sacred thread ceremony, which introduced the sacred thread, also still they were worn during the particular rituals as well. Now, in the medieval period, we had the royal patronage and the temple culture also. The garments were not only spiritual, but also reflected one's varna, their social order and their status in the community as well. Then when it came to the colonial impact, there was a fusion of East and West. There was a blending of Western cuts with a lot of traditional attire as well. So there was a very subtle shift you can see from stitched garments like blouses for saris and jackets over kurta. So then the religious wear, however, remained largely unchanged during the rituals. Then contemporary trend, today now there is a very strong movement towards reviving ancient traditions in modern fashions. So many brands are reinforcing the organic fabric, the hand-woven dhotis, the sustainable saris for pujas and for temple visits as well. So if you look at Hindu men, how they dressed up, they don't adorn themselves or they drape themselves in dhoti and lungi, right? So they had the dhoti, which was long unstitched cloth, a kurta, it was a loose collarless shirt that pairs with dhoti or pant. Sherwani, it was basically a long coat-like garment which was worn over the kurta with churidar. And then there was lungi. It was a sarong style, wrap around, usually worn by men, South Indian men. And you can see, because the climate in South India is hot, so according to the climate and condition, how the garments were basically draped also differed. Then angarkha, which was a side-tied or overlapping jacket which was worn at the traditional functions. Turbans, which was known as pagdi also, or safa, of various colors and fabric, depending on the different region, depending on the community, the status, and the purpose also. For what purpose are they wearing? Okay, the Hindu women, their clothing were also very vibrant and very symbolic, which reflected cultural pride, their tradition, their spirituality. So, how the sari was basically an iconic attire, right? Very colorful, fitted with blouse and choli. Then there was shalwar kameez with long tunic, that is the kameez and shalwar. Then bindi, the red dot between the eyebrow, it represents wisdom, the spiritual vision, and the marital status. Then bangles, even the jewelry was in combo with the dresses also, which symbolizes prosperity and marital happiness, which were worn by women of all ages. Then henna, mehendi, very prominently in Indian culture we find that, and irrespective of any community, it is applied during festivals and during weddings. It is signifying joy, beauty, and good fortune. Now, coming to Islam, which is also steeped its rich history of tradition, culture, and religious observance, and we do find that the key feature of Islamic clothing were very loose attires, non-revealing, and long sleeves and pants for both men and women, head covering like hijab, turbans, and avoidance of any transparent or very tight-fitting clothing. So the whole evolution of Muslim dresses, of course, came from the Arab country in the early Islamic period. So we can see the loose garment as thawb, ankle-length robe, or izar, that was a wraparound cloth. And women, they wore long robes like abaya or jilbabs, or veils like niqab, which actually ensures modesty in public. And even in the Quran, we find it encouraged both men and women to dress modestly and to avoid extravagance. So the emphasis was on piety, on cleanliness, simplicity, and not specific clothing style. Now, during the medieval Islamic era, we found that when the Persian influence was we can feel the Persian influence at that time. So there it led to the development of kaftan and shalwar kameez styles and different kind of rich fabric also. And even in Spain, Muslim clothing, it influenced the European fashion, introducing luxury skill, veils, and tunic. Then for women, the veil became more structured and the layering of garment reflected a social standing and their local culture as well. So this period saw a rise of symbolic garments, which denoted a spiritual authority. For instance, the Sufi khirqa, that is the woolen robe, which is worn by the mystics to represent humility and devotion. Then in the colonial and the modern period, of course, the Western style suits and uniform, they became more common in men, while traditional attire like kurta pajama, thob remained more of a religious occasion. Even women's veiling practice fluctuated. In some region, it's declined because of modernization. In other, it strengthened as a symbol of Islamic identity, right? And the hijab, abaya, burqa became the marker of modesty and religious expression in modern Islamic society. Then if you look at the contemporary era, the 21st century, Muslim religious dress, it continues to evolve, balancing faith, fashion, and global identity. So for men, they wear kufi caps, jabab, kurta pajama, thobs, and women, they chose a more modest style like hijab and, abaya, niqab, and so on, and with different terminology. And all that is depicting their culture and their interpretation of modesty. Now here's you can see the images of different styles, and you can say that how even the women, they depicted all these different style through that period. And the words that I've talked about, the abayas, the hijab, the niqab, that was all reflected, and that came from the pre-Islamic period and then the medieval Islamic period. Then coming to Sikhism, which also was founded in the 15th century, it emphasizes devotion to one God, right, and equality to all human beings. So the teaching of Sikhism was recorded in the holy scripture of Guru Granth Sahib, which is considered as the eternal Guru, right? And the faith was shaped by the 10 human gurus from Guru Nanak Dev Ji to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. So if you look at the evolution of Sikhism dress, how they, even in the Sikhism religion, the dress evolved. So the early Sikh period, we find that Sikh wore simple and modest Punjabi clothing, kurta, chadar means cloth wrap, and turbans. And the medieval period, the whole concept of saint soldier, you know, Sant Sipahi, it combination of spirituality with courage. So Sikh men, they started wearing more functional attire like chagtar jamas, that is flayed robes, churidar, tight trouser, turban styles that also allowed ease in the battle. Then came the Khalsa formation. So here, the in this particular formation, which was after 1699 onwards, through Khalsa Panth, they introduced 5 Ks, that is Panch Kakar, right? And the 5 Ks you can see in the image. The Kesh, uncut hair, the Kanga, a wooden comb, the Kirpan, that is the steel sword, the Kacha, that is also spelled as Kach, which is cotton underwear, and the Kara, that is the steel bracelet. So for Sikh women too, we are encouraged to dress modestly, tie turbans, and maintain equality with men. So even in the modern era, we find that the Sikh clothing today continues to reflect both tradition and practicality. So many Sikh, they wear Western clothing in daily life, but the traditional garments are worn during religious, cultural, and ceremonial occasions as well. So you can see in these images how the different Sikh people are wearing at different occasions. Now coming to the craftsmanship behind Indian clothing. So the artisans, so first we'll look into the weavers. So the weavers are basically skilled artisans who create cloth by interlacing threads using a loom. And there's also multiple specialized skills like spinning, turning the fibers, cotton, silk, and wool into yarn, then dyeing, coloring the yarn into different colors, wrapping and wefting, preparing thread, lengthwise and crosswise, then loom work, that is using hand looms or power looms to interlace the thread into fabric. Now in India, weaving is often organized around the communities of weaver caste. So, the skill that they practiced also designated their caste as well, right? So we have Banarsi weavers in Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh, famous for silk sari, right? Kanchipuram weavers in Tamil Nadu, also famous for luxurious silk saris with temple-inspired borders. Then Pochampalli weavers in Telangana, which was they create of ikat pattern with intricate geometrical design. Then Chanderi weavers in Madhya Pradesh, they wear the marker of light, airy cotton silk fabric with delicate motifs. Then even the embroiderers, they have skilled artisans who create decorative design on fabric using needle and thread. Everything done manually, no machine involved. And embroidery has been practiced from centuries and it varies according to the region as well. So it is reflecting our local customs, our religious beliefs, and our social identity as well. So economically, embroidery provides livelihood to many rural and urban artisans community and is a significant, you can say, component of India's handicraft export. Then even the dyers, who used to dye, they were skilled artists who used to apply. They knew what is the amount of color that they have to apply and how much color should be, how much they should be exposing the cloth towards that color, then it should be dried and the color should not mixed with one another. Otherwise, the whole fabric will bleed. So basically, it's enhancing the beauty, symbolism, and artistic appeal as well. And even the dyes, it transformed the plain fabric into vibrant pattern and solid colored cloth, right? So the main kind of the natural dyes, that was the true essence of Indian ethos during that time, and it carries symbolic meaning. Saffron for auspicious, or indigo for royalty. And economically, dyeing, it also provided livelihood to thousands and thousands of artisans, and it contributed to handloom and art, handicraft industry as well. Then coming to designer and pattern drafters, how the pattern is supposed to be drafted and what is the design, that also played a very crucial role in transforming the traditional textile skills into contemporary, fashionable, and functioning clothing. So they combine both artistic vision, the technical knowledge, and also the cultural insight to create a beautiful garment. So India's rich heritage of weaving, dyeing, embroidery, and block printing is also reflected in that. Then designers often work to blend traditional techniques with modern trends as well, ensuring that handlooms and handcrafted textile, they remain relevant in contemporary market as well. Now, with time, they started using mathematical and geometrical skills also to ensure accurate measurement, fit, and proportion, which is quite essential for complex garments like saris and sherwanis, lehengas, and tailored suit. Then tailoring and stitching skills, that's another set of skills, that is the mastery of precision, the mastery of draping and decorative stitching, that also has a cultural significance in our country as well. So tailoring skill involves cutting fabric and how tailor must understand the body proportion, the fabric stretch, and the garment structure as well. So the stitching skill, it is both functional meaning it should be seam, finishing, hemming, attaching, linings, and reinforcement. It should be also decorative with a lot of embellishment, stitches, applique, piping, and ornament borders as well. Then you can see even in the image how the textile ornament skills have been depicted. The embroidery, embellishment, which includes zardosi, the metal thread work, the ari and sozni, which is a fine, very needlework, with mirror and sequins and beads and so on. Surface ornamentation, that is block printing, also is there. Weaving based ornamentation is there, which incorporates like brocade, ikat motifs, and so on. Then even the finishing technique, how you're finishing the product, that's also very important. That is polishing, calendering, pleating, and fringing, which further it kind of enhances the visual appeal and texture as well. So you see, needless to say, all that skill is required. All that craftsmanship is so unique in our country, and it is still there. If you visit to any city, you go to any even in the city, if you go to the remote areas in which you see all these weavers, the dyers, the hookers, and the embroiderers, they're still working there, and they are also using the traditional method. They're still using the traditional method of working. It's though they're no longer using machines, but they're using their own hands, and the craftsmanship, the skills are there, just passed down from generation to generation. So to conclude, Indian tradition clothing is more than attire, right? In these two lectures, you must have understood that it's reflecting our faith, it is reflecting our identity and artistry. We are really lucky that we Indians have such vibrant, such beautiful culture in which we can depict through our clothing, through our attire, right? And even our religion, that is, if you take any religion for that matter, it is symbolizing devotion, modesty, and cultural pride for all of us, and evolving from ancient simplicity to modern reinvention, right? Blending, the blending of culture is also taking place. Equally vital are the artisans. You cannot imagine, if they were not there, we could not have relived in that era in which those artisans, in which our Indian tradition had first originated. So equally important are them, the weavers, the dyers, the embroiderers, and the designers, whose skill they still preserve our heritage and sustain local economies. So in a world of fast fashion, if you look at it, India's clothing tradition, they stand very unique. They stand as a testament to resilience and creativity. So honoring these garments and craftsmen, the craft people, the craftsmanship, it celebrates a legacy that continues to inspire across generation. So I hope you enjoyed this session. The two sessions in which I talked about the clothes and how I tried to connect it with our Indian ethos and our Indian cultures. These are the suggested reading, the further reading that if you want to have regarding this particular topic. And thank you all for your patience listening, and I'll be back again with another interesting topic. Till then, take care of yourself and have a nice day. Bye-bye.